Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:31. And recognition of the public. Thank you, Dan, Ron, and Ralph for being here. I think you all signed in, right? Great. Are there any new additions to the agenda? Sheila?
Yes, I wanted to report on the library pod, what little I know about it, because that was something we talked about on Friday.
Okay, all right, so let's put that under old business, okay?
Yeah.
Because that will show up actually in the warrants as well. Anything else?
You was going to move the agenda around?
Yeah, I'm going to move the items under old business, budget process, finance committee, capital improvement plan and budget, under highway. Dan, you'll thank me later, so you don't have to stay through our discussion about finances. So, anything else? Okay, well, let's get started then with approval of minutes. I hope that everybody saw I did amend the minutes from the 21st, and so if you didn't, they're quite brief, the minutes, but I had taken those minutes and I had put something in there twice. I said, went out of executive session and then I said it again, and I hadn't caught it until I was rereading them today. So I sent Becky an amended, it's nothing substantive, but an amended version, but you could take a look at it if you want. So any motion to approve minutes?
So
For, let's say, for the 14th?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And was everybody at the meeting on the 21st? Okay, thank you. So a motion to approve the minutes from the 21st?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Abstention?
Aye.
Okay, great. So those are done. And first, let's get those signed before we go on. So we're here, put those the other way so we can. These are the ones you can't sign, I think. Sure.
Yeah, that's not that. Jeremiah.
So let's put those there. We'll do a little face down pile of signed things. Thank you. Okay. So Ralph, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. This is really about your application for the renewal of your permit for the junkyard. And I think it's really a state piece of business, but we just wanted to touch base with you because, as you know, we have concerns about mission creep, about things creeping outside of their borders, and just wanted to chat with you about your efforts to keep your things within the confines. So is there anything you can tell us?
I don't know if you've been down there lately. I cleaned up quite a bit.
Okay.
And I'm going to clean up some further, but I had a little setback with my health condition. And but of course, I've got to get ready for winter. So I got to move a lot of the stuff anyways for snowplow. I mean, some of it's on my agenda anyway.
I was down there a couple weeks ago. I haven't been down there this week. Has anybody been down there this week?
I'm not sure. I mean, yes, I have,
But
and I've noticed that it looks better, but I'm not sure I'm looking at the right property, Ralph.
Yeah, if it's on the
It
right.
looks better.
Yeah.
Is it the one that had the cocoa plum truck?
Yes.
Sitting in the yard?
Yeah.
Totally great.
Yeah, okay. So I will come down soon, but we appreciate your efforts to improve it. I know it's hard when you get more things in and you run out of space.
Well, I don't get much stuff in. It's mostly my health.
Okay. So anything else? Do people have any other questions for Ralph or concerns they'd like to share? There were concerns that we had expressed earlier, which is one of the reasons why we're grateful you were able to come in.
I just think as long as it's kept up, keep and stuff like that, Ralph, it makes the town happy.
Yeah. Eventually, not this year, but probably by next summer, I'm going to move the trailers up. And because I got room up there, I am planning on moving them, make it a little nicer. I plan on retiring, see? I won't look at all the junk either.
So any other questions or comments? Ralph, there are several spots here for you to sign if you would like to get this sent in. There's some stuff, but I think before then, we'll just take a motion. I will accept a motion for approval of location from the select
I
board.
move we approve Ralph's application for salvage yard.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So there are spaces here for all of us, so I'm going to pass this around for everybody to sign. And then Ralph, I'm going to hand it to you, and you could sign it, and there's another little note up here, and you could put it right on Penny's desk, and you'd be good to go. Unless you'd like to leave it here, and I'll put it in the right place. Okay. Okay. Okay, so then Ralph would give that to you. Okay. And just give it to Penny, she'll make the copies, and there's a...
Okay, all right.
So Jeremiah, thank you.
There we go. All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming in, appreciate you taking the time, and this is
Yeah,
from you?
so I just photocopied another, I have a letter, I think it, in that document, it says, references a letter that was sent in from the Rocks.
Right.
I'm sorry, number one, I'm sorry that I couldn't get the select board a copy of that before the meeting.
So just because people haven't seen it, maybe
Yeah.
you kind of walk through it as part of your update.
So, the solicitors are going through errors and omission for two properties in Guilford. One being, the Rocks, will start with 1266 Coolidge Highway. Solar array, the solicitors had previously been, had to go to the select board for errors and omission for abatement because their array was left on the tax records for $35,000, which as of legislature this year, that's to be removed because it's under 50,000 kW system. So in the course of that discussion, Brenda had, I'm just going to refer to her as Brenda because she's the one I'm dealing with. So Brenda had been told that there was a 7% depreciation that should have been applied to the solar array per year of installation. So in regards to her project, it would be the tax years of 2013 and 14 that she thought she was being, she should have had a depreciation. So I told her to go, if that was the case, to go and go through the process of abatement because she had evaluation question, because I couldn't find, I think in my statement here it says that I did the research, I couldn't find any legislature that references 7% depreciation. And in her letter, like I said, I can pass that out.
That's okay.
But long story long, when doing the research, the array was left on the education portion of the tax bill, which the $35,950 that was assessed for the solar array by the state. State gave us a metric to do all solar arrays. So that portion only needed to be taxed on the municipal side because the production is being taxed. So I think I described that better than I can verbally, but.
So basically, education's off the table. just
Right,
so you-
and so for those two tax years, she was taxed on the education side. That was an error.
Okay.
It should have been, and I broke down the fees. That was the error. So then I let her know, Brenda know, that I was going to go through errors and omission versus going through the abatement process since I found it was an error. And so then that's.
So she withdrew her request for an abatement hearing.
Right. She said pending the outcome of the select board meeting tonight, that she would withdraw and she'd be satisfied with I think it totals to
28.
$128.42 reduction to her tax bill for this year to correct the previous 2 years.
So just so I understand you, Jeremiah, do we need to make a motion on that specifically before you go on with the rest of what you want to share? Or should we look at
this is-
Lucy's Bar Blase as well?
They're two separate.
Okay.
I would say they're two separate issues.
So does anybody have any questions? And I will just deal with the LaRock property.
So what happened to the 7% issue, or is the 7% the
There was,
education
I
issue?
spoke to my district advisor, and I spoke to a couple other assessors, and there's been no 7%. That number, I guess, was reported to her by, I'm not gonna just say names or anything, but by somebody else, and we couldn't
Facebook.
validate it. Yeah, Facebook, just, the internet did it. And so I couldn't find anything. I mean, it might have had merit. It might have been talk in the legislature, just never really, it never really.
And she was comfortable with that, she let go of that.
Right, because I told her, I was like, by all means, it's not that it, I don't see it anywhere. I've talked to the people that I know to talk to, and I've looked at, statutes and try to find where it would, pertain to this, but, I couldn't find anything. And I was like, if you can, by all means, bring it to my attention and we can, but she couldn't find anything. So, and she was happy. It's just coincidentally, the 7% works out to the same value. If you did 7% of 35,950, it equates out to the same number.
Wow.
Okay, so
Pretty close.
do we have a motion?
I move that the LaRock 2015 tax bill be corrected by $128.42 to a corrected total of $16,489.72 to correct the error in the prior 2 years' tax bills.
Got it. Second?
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Moving onward.
Okay, the next property is 2315 East Mountain Road, and it's Lucy Blase.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mispronounce that, but essentially last year she had a fire at her property. The Board of Abatement met. Her value was abated to $90,483. With abatement, if you don't, so the listers went up there this year and we saw that she still had just a deck, and a foundation. So we weren't gonna change the value from the 90,000. So we looked at it. But what happens in abatement, it's unlike when you change a tax bill, it reverts back to the previous year. So when the tax bills got sent out, she got the $177,680 tax bill, which was her pre-abated value. And so the reason this came up was that was the problem we had with the church drive. We abated and then it reverted. And so for whatever reason, I didn't look at it. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, if that one didn't get carried over, then this one didn't. And I wanted to make sure it didn't. Lo and behold,
Yeah.
it's an error. So I'm here twice doing errors and omissions. So for that, I am sorry. But I found essentially what the listers are proposing is that it be reverted back to the abated value of the previous tax year of $90,483. If we change that valuation, I think you have to go through because it wouldn't classify as an error made by the listers. You would have to go through the Board of Abatement at this point.
But
So
we can avoid that?
we can avoid that by just keeping it the same value. If we
That's
change
the year before.
If we change the value, it no longer becomes an error, it becomes more of a valuation question. And so then the proper course would be go through the Board of Abatement. At least that's my opinion.
Any other questions about this one?
So nothing's been done to the foundation or anything, Jeremiah?
Well, now there has, but as of April 1st, which we're required to as listers to go check every property as of April 1st. She just started production. It was the deck. So she had the foundation and the deck on, and so I personally didn't see the property, but anyway, that's what was reported to me, and they didn't feel that they should change the value. So you could have I mean, that's up to debate. You could have added a percentage for a deck being added to the 90,000, which I wasn't here during the abatement, but I'm 90% sure what was left on the value of the property is for the well, the septic, and the foundation. That, yeah, and you guys can speak more to that effect. So anyway, that's the improvements that are left on there besides the site.
I mean, I was saying to try, I'm comfortable leaving it at the $90,000 value. If anybody,
To submit to the Board of Abatements for a deck is ridiculous.
yeah. So is there a motion to approve that correction?
I would like to make the motion that the select board leaves the abatement value at 90,483 as a result of the fire in 2014 for the Lucy Spa Blase property.
I swear.
I said it a few
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
times. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so Jeremiah, talk to us about other, what else is happening?
Other projects going on with listers. Well, we have a mapping project going on, and I was gonna bring my laptop in here because we've gotten a project from Main Street GIS. We've got a beta test version of the GIS, which I can show the select board. I can bring it in the laptop and show it around, or I suggest going in the lister's office at the end of the meeting might be the best way to do this. Because it's easier.
So that when you say beta version, like this is like a draft?
Yeah, it's a draft. Currently, it's kind of like they did all the mapping changes that we requested, and then now we're going through the vetting process of that data. And then on hindsight, the big hurdle was dealing with inactive properties, which is a it's a weird task in Vermont. So we've worked together with adding a layer to the GIS map that would identify the inactive parcels. So if essentially the grant list wants to look at everything as one parcel, even though you might own 6, and so what will happen on the GIS, it'll show the property, all 6 parcels merged as one, because that acreage is going to be reflected on your property record card and on the grand list as what you own. If you add the layer, it will identify all 6 parcels. And the reason for doing that is it's easier to keep track visually, and if you were ever to, subdivide out, you could. This is what the mapper told me, is that you could take those dimensions and just kind of bring it from one layer to the next really easy. Whereas if you don't keep that inactive layer, you kind of lose that data, and you'd have to regenerate it and redraw it.
What's an inactive parcel?
So the state, when you own 2 abutting parcels, so if you have parcel 1 and parcel 2 under the same ownership name, for legal purposes and real estate purposes, you could sell those parcels individually, but the state wants me to look at that as if parcels 1 and 2 are just parcel 1. And so that all the features of both parcels are essentially combined into.
So which one then
Yeah.
becomes inactive when you say, where's the word inactive fit in?
The parcel that usually is acquired becomes inactive, or the property with the residence usually becomes the master parcel, or
Such an odd word, it doesn't have anything to do with what you're talking about, inactive.
right. Yeah. And my understanding is that, and what I've been told, and I haven't heard anything contradictory. We get paid for our reappraisal budget based on how many parcels we have. Mm-hmm. So the more of these inactive parcels there are, technically, as far as the state's concerned, we have less parcels. So they pay us less per parcel for these. So that has been the only thing I've heard from, because I've asked this question repeatedly. I'm like, well, why do we even do this? Because it's only for the state that we do this type of practice. There's no other reason.
So have you been, other than this issue of inactive parcels, have you been happy with the work that is it GSI? I can't remember.
It's Main Street GIS. I'm happy with a lot of the real-time interaction that we've had. The part that was overlooked during the whole process, or not thought about a lot, was who was doing most of the deed research on these map changes.
I'm gonna guess that would be you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought it was kind of be like they would come in and research just the ones that we gave them, and then if they had any problems, that we would do it, you know. But that was not the case. We give them what the map line should be based on surveys, based on deed descriptions, and then they make it so effectively. So that was a big, and that's why I think some of the, when we were talking about the price differences when they came and gave proposals, I think some of that would have been included with the other GIS mappers. Like, I think the price difference was about
Yes.
$8,000.
And we were like wondering why they were so cheap.
And so I think that might have been part of that. I still think there would have been headaches either way. That's my own, I just think there would have been, they would have had a lot of questions regardless, so. It's far, I guess it ends up being cheaper that town employees do it, but it's not necessarily the most effective way to have it done, so.
So,
The other thing, I guess, problem we're gonna have was the map updates were from 2005 to present, and the map on the wall, I'm thinking was, I've seen surveys that haven't been applied to the map on the wall that were in 97 and 98. So I think there might be a bigger window. And so figuring out how to either go forward, maybe doing an additional 5 or 10 a year. I haven't really, but
5 or 10 what?
so if we don't do all of the updates right away,
Okay.
and so they're gonna give us a price. I wanted to get more of this done so I could give you numbers, and so I apologize. So the numbers I want to look for, I have to go through or someone has to go through the surveys and get how many surveys aren't on the maps that they gave us. So I can say, number one, we want to have what surveys are recorded in our vault reflected on these online maps, because, well, I think we do, but just because they're more accurate. And so I don't know how many surveys that would entail for them to update, and I don't know how many updates there was from 1997 to 2005. I don't know how many splits there were. I don't know how many transfer, you know, so I'm looking at a lot of unknown, and it's not really fair to go and ask them for a price. So I was gonna get how many surveys and how many lot line adjustments. So I'm sorry that it's not, but as far as the product, I mean, I'm pretty satisfied. It does its job. In order, like, you can pull up by name, address. It shows flood layers, roads. It's gonna have topo map on there. So I mean, it does what they said it would do. So I mean, yeah, there's nicer ones and there's worse ones, but I think as a whole, you know.
Other questions? I have a question for Jeremiah, but other people have
Can I
questions?
just read back to you what I think you just said?
Yeah, sorry, that's reality.
There may be a larger number of mapping updates that are not current than you had anticipated. And those mapping updates are from surveys that you know have been made that are on record in the vault, but
Right.
are not on the map. And you're gonna look at the number, the discrepancy, and then perhaps the listers will have to come back to us for a change order to the original contract.
Yes, and
Thank you.
That is a lot better than what I said.
Okay, thanks.
Jeremiah, I first of all just want to thank you for your work in this kind of new role of assessor clerk, and I think it's been tremendous having you in the office. I've heard nothing but great things about your work. I'm curious to know how the interaction between you and the listers are going, now that you're no longer a lister, and what role the listers are playing.
It was the transition to me was none, really. I mean, as far as I just have, more set, tasks ahead of me. And I think it's going good. I mean, we have some new people, so they're gonna have, it's just,
Are they in every week? I'm just curious to know what role the listers are playing at this point. You're no longer a lister.
yeah, they're participating, I guess, so they know of what's going on, and like for instance, we just had our office redone, and that was, a nice, and it was long overdue, but and so some of like the old, like we've had stuff in the office for like 10 years, like that has just been, anyway. So that was something everyone got together and did, and our real time for doing work is in the spring. Like, so the listers are out, boots on the ground in the spring, doing our inspections, and that's when everyone needs to be. In the meantime, it's just trying to keep just information flow. Like, there's been changes, like for the solar program and for current use, had a new change in 2015. So taking property out of current use. But like those updates are, anyway, it doesn't really answer your question.
Well, I just was curious to know, because before we just had listers and no kind of paid staff. Now you are, in a sense, the paid staff, and I
I
just
guess
was...
you'd have to ask Penny and Pete if it's going better or worse as far as the office flow. I mean, I think they'd have a better...
Well, they were very, very
un-
complimentary of your work.
Okay, good.
I just was curious in how that was...
I'm gonna be biased, so. So as far as the select board is concerned, we're just trying to, on the mapping, I would like your feedback as to what the intentions are. Is to have, the mapper is suggesting that they eventually do like an online version, but a very watered down version. So like you'd be able to see the parcel maybe which you can get from other sites right now. If you go on to, not Wyndham Regional, but I think it's Vermont GIS, they've overlaid our parcel map over our, so that wouldn't be anything, that is new, but I know there's discussion of whether the GIS wants to be online or in-house for just town employees. But there's also the option of having like a watered down version online.
I thought that was all in the contract.
Yeah, it is, but you can...
Carefully in the contract.
Right, but I don't think they've, I mean, it's something we're gonna probably come up with a question on once the mapping's done. Whereas if you want it online or not.
So let's get into that when we have the contract in front of us.
Yes,
But the other thing, Jeremiah, somewhat related is, as you know, we're coming up to budget season, and you're talking about some things that need to be done. So just be aware, as the listers will need to be developing
A budget
FY17, so.
And I don't know who technically is, I mean, I know the listers are doing the map updates, but I would have to look if that's gonna fall under our budget, it might, restructure our budget a little, if that's the case, because I don't know technically who's responsible for the maps on the wall.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Anything else?
But I'm willing to stay a little after, I mean, I'd like everyone to see it, if the laptop is just gonna be very cumbersome.
Do you want to, so you don't have to stay, we've got other things, do you want to, everybody want to take
We
it
should look at it on the 13th at noon.
during the, yeah, the 13th is a Tuesday, you're in the office on Tuesday.
That Tuesday, I'm obligated in Vernon to be the VUIs in town.
Why don't we take a 3-minute, should we just take a 3-minute recess from the camera and just go in there and take a peek right now rather than waiting till the end?
And I'm gonna send you all a link too, I can do that.
Sure. But why don't we just take a little field trip into the other room? So Ian, you can just take a pause and we'll just field trip in there rather than wait till the end.
Pause for the cause.
This is essentially Guilford as the perimeter and set, and they got the parcel maps from the maps that we currently have on the wall, and then Wyndham Regional had some maps. This functionality is essentially the layer, and you can have like essentially like a Google Earth, or but then sorry, I wasn't ready to give a presentation, but
That's right.
you can
It
do
was your idea.
drop down. It was only my idea. I wasn't really expecting to be on camera. I was just gonna let you guys have playtime, and I was just gonna. So you can either look by address, parcel ID, or owner.
And this is new. This is part of the GIS.
Right, this is what they've given us as far as a product for. This is what the town will be using to do essentially look at the map on the wall. Is really
And eventually
all.
we'll end up having a new map on the wall.
Yeah, they're gonna give us new plat maps and a big version of what they've-
Plat maps?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the individual parcels you'll have the dimensions of them and how many acres.
Sorry, I just didn't know what plat stands for.
I couldn't tell you either, so.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we're going to just ask Jeremiah if anybody has any other questions for him, and then we're going to stop. But that's really, thank you for showing that to us.
Okay.
Anybody have any quick questions for Jeremiah?
As far as the listers are concerned, the tools that are going to be great is we're going through a reappraisal, and it'll allow you to calculate as far as like vacant land. When I throw a digital like imagery over it, I can approximate with this tool, like get dimensions on how many, so I get a rough idea of how many, like if you have 20 acres of field and
Right.
20 acres of mountains. So I mean, for our land schedules, it's going to be a very powerful tool when you're doing a reappraisal.
Awesome.
But
Cool.
like, and you can get, the other nice feature is we can get a butters by just selecting it, and it'll give you the butters, which is a constant.
Pain in the neck kind of thing.
Well, for people, yeah. So
Great.
it's
Thank you. Thanks for that.
sorry. Yeah.
Good. Okay. That wasn't too painful, was it?
No, and like I said, if Becky gives me a list, I'll get everyone a link, and this is available right now online.
Great.
So.
Is that your house?
No, I don't have a house.
Oh.
This is just Bluebird, and that there's better digital images, and I'm trying to like if you go to Google Maps, that'll be a better image, but and then there's Google Maps, and then they have there's just different little features that
Kind of cool.
you can use.
Be interesting.
Yeah, well, it's nice. Like I said, it'll be a very nice tool as well, and
everybody's just hayed.
yeah.
Thank you,
So that
Jeremiah.
digital image is a lot better than the one that
Yeah,
we're just
than the other
looking
one,
at.
yeah.
So there's more detail.
Okay, we are finished with the section of the agenda. Thank Jeremiah for the listers report and the demonstration of the functionality of the new mapping software. So next item on the agenda is town administration. And as we had discussed in our last meeting, we talked about locating somebody to take on clerical tasks and administrative support. I would like to just know if people feel that if this is a contractual issue that we should talk about in executive session?
It is, it's a personal
Yeah.
matter.
If it's volunteer, do we need to talk
No,
about
it's
it?
not volunteer, so I think we need to talk about it in executive session.
Yes.
There are two parts to this, so I'm gonna move that whole piece down with the budget process. So let's move on, if that's okay with everybody,
Let's do that.
which is to the report on small business incubation space. Were you two both involved in that meeting? Do you wanna just give a really brief?
So there were 3 task force that the town of Guilford agreed on during the Vermont Council on Rural Development project at the end of 2013, 2014. One was about revitalization of the Grange, the other was about developing the Guilford Community Church as a community center, and the third was to focus on small business incubation space, sort of to reinvigorate the growth, the economy in Guilford. That task force met only once, and we just reconvened it last week,
Monday night.
last Monday evening. And we are as a result of that, we are about to send out a needs survey to the town through different formats to assess internet availability and speed and usage and needs, and how much access people have, because you can't really do much business at home or international business or, anyway, business out of your home without having internet, and then to decide next steps.
I think that's a great first step.
Yeah, because we can't really do anything without knowing that. That's just an essential foundational tool. The second thing that we had some discussion about but are not moving on yet was co-working space. Thinking about developing co-working space for for businesses, potential businesses to use in Guilford. There were 10 people at the meeting. That was really encouraging, and people seem to be pretty engaged since then. And I just wanted to express my appreciation to people for being there, and to Gabby for being part of it with me now.
That's great.
Are you following up with me anymore?
Can I just add, I
It
was
was
gonna ask,
yes.
what's the
It's a
relationship
committee.
between task force versus, for example, like conservation committee, if they're appointed by the select board? I wasn't sure of the relationship between the select board and task forces.
So this was all volunteer.
Yeah.
This was everybody volunteered to get together at the VCRD meeting to work on this.
So it's
It's
not
not
appointed,
appointed,
it's not an appointed
official.
committee, it's not,
It's
and it's, in a sense, you could call it almost ad hoc, because we don't know how long. For example, the church one, that might last for a couple of years, they may feel like they've achieved their task and move on. So it's not appointed under the auspices of the select board, it's really, that was the idea, that it was the group that was gonna keep their momentum going without select board oversight.
Just a bunch of Guilford people getting together trying to figure out what needs to be done in this town.
So it's not open meeting then?
No.
But we are posting the meetings and posting the minutes for people who are interested.
Had to throw that in.
Thank you, Dick.
Okay, VLCT annual business meeting delegate designation, we've got that form. So the business meeting is on the 7th or it's the 8th. And we need to designate a delegate, so I would accept a nomination if people have a nomination of an individual who would represent our city and town. I have one if nobody else does.
I move that Ann Ryder or Dick Clark.
I'd move that Dick Clark be our delegate personally, but, so I think you need one, so
I have to say, the year that Ann Ryder was nominated delegate, she limped across the pond, I had to carry her, you know. I had a delegate that
It
year.
was bad shoes and snow, it was a bad combination.
In October?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, insult added to injury, it was early in October. So,
I'm not sure if that was an excuse or she actually did have bad
there was
shoes
blood,
on.
there was blood involved.
Second.
I think I can't make that motion, so I think I need someone else from the,
I move that Dick Clark be appointed as
Delegate.
Guilford's delegate
to
to the
VLCT.
VLC annual business meeting.
And Sheila seconded that, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Yeah.
You do it on this one, it's nice and pretty.
It is pretty. Okay, so let me fill that out right now.
And I need to list the resolutions, which I don't have.
You do now?
I do now.
So designate.
Is that the new policy? The 22-page policy?
This is the draft, yes.
That's the draft.
So that was next on the agenda, right?
Yeah,
What?
VLCT
I'm sure you
municipal
got this
policy.
draft, but what it is, it's a representative for the league to get together, come up with all these policies and change paragraph 1 to paragraph 2, and cross out this, and then it goes to the legislature after this meeting, after the town fair. So it's really this, it's basically a proposal put forth by the league to the legislature,
Like recommendations.
a recommendation,
Yeah.
So
yes.
I actually didn't read the whole thing. I only read 11 of the 22 pages.
It's a whole bunch of pages.
But I have questions.
A lot of it's very boring and boilerplate.
But that's 22 pages of policy and advocacy, which is a lot for anybody to accomplish in a year.
Yeah.
So I went to the VLCT website to see if they report out on what they've done in the prior year, and they actually do have an overview report that they have for 2014. But now we're going into, and I'm assuming that they'll do a 2015 report eventually, and a 2016 report on this when it's adopted. My question is, how do they set priorities? Because it's too much for any body to accomplish.
It's like us sitting here and discussing stuff to take to town meeting, and put it up to vote.
I'm sorry?
They put it up to vote, he said.
This all
the
of us
VLCT,
voted on it
yeah.
at the level.
But do they vote on the policy as a whole, or do they select
They vote on
priorities?
the ones that are, what's the word they use? Everybody's supposed to have read these. And if you see one you don't like, you say like public safety 3.1, and they bring that up and discuss it. And then either go yay or nay, and then they move on to the next one.
So I understand the procedure, but we're asked to say if these are the most significant issues for the municipality, for Guilford. If not, which issue is most relevant for us.
So
And it
we are
ranges
asked to
from
prioritize it.
education to, municipal representation, funding from the state, to all sorts of things.
We don't have a representative on the board.
No, but the other
But
thing
this is
is,
our opportunity.
you mean this meeting is our opportunity?
This request to
I see.
respond to this draft policy that will guide the actions of the VLCT advocacy in 2016. And we don't have, I don't see any reason to propose any amendments to the policy. I would simply ask the VLCT board how they prioritize what they're gonna do for the next year. Just
So
as a
you're
matter
asking
of
Dick as our
information.
delegate?
As our delegate, probably. Yeah.
To ask that, how they prioritize.
Because it's too much to do for any one body.
So maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just feedback he can bring to that.
Right. I mean, that's my opinion after reading through half of this today. I think it makes a lot of sense, everything that I've read, but I don't understand how they're going to accomplish it and in what order.
Okay, I think that's good feedback. Just to share with them that they've got a lot
Well, let's say
on.
the meeting starts at 3 o'clock and usually doesn't get over to 5, so. Perhaps I won't ask too many questions.
I think it starts at 2 to 4, Dick. 2 to 4.
But it says,
2 to 4.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
it
know.
says.
I know what it says.
I've been there.
All right,
Yeah.
any other feedback for Dick to bring up to that meeting? Good point, Sheila.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on at this point to highway. Okay?
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
You guys?
So Dan, as part of the general update, you wanna just talk about some of the big issues facing?
Yeah, well, they just finished up the paving today, down on the Weathered Hollow Road. That's all done. They're about 100 ton over. We got the one patch done on the Weathered Hollow Road down by Tucky's. And then the other one, we got about a third of it because he didn't have enough mix. So sometime along he'll come back in and finish patching that, so. Last week I took Ann and Sheila, we went for a little joyride. I took them over to Hale Road and they wanted to see the bridge over there. And then they wanted to see the spot down here on the center road, so. I did call Todd today, left him a message, but he didn't call me back to,
Todd Benese?
to go over, look at them two sites and over at the bridge too, so. I haven't talked to the contractor that we talked about. I'll give him a call tomorrow and see if he can give me a little more heads up on what can be done and some other options.
So just to fill people in, this is bridge number
64.
4, and is it the 4th bridge on Hale Road?
No, it's the second one I'm talking about, the one that I took you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's the second one.
that's the
from-
second one from Heinsberg Road.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that bridge is not scheduled for repair, but is in need of repair.
It's in need of repair. Well, I got a big steel plate sitting where the spot that was failing, that could stay there all winter, but we're gonna have to do something with it
What would be the harm of leaving that plate there all winter? What would be the
We
problem?
just have to be careful plowing snow, we don't hit it with a snow plow.
And you're pretty comfortable that that steel plate that bridge is safe with that plate on there?
If we, we can put a load restriction on it.
Okay.
I mean, like, you almost got your head bumped,
I do indeed, yes. So no, I'm just curious about when you think we need to, Dick had talked about before snow flies, that it should be repaired. And I'm just curious about, your impression, Danny.
We could put a fix on it, I mean, it'd be, try to get underneath there and weld some flanges on the beams and put another rail. And then fix the spot where it's
The wooden
failing.
structure that's there, the whole wooden structure that's underneath
Yeah.
there, that's not actually even touching the bridge.
No, it only touches when the weight goes down and hits it.
Okay, so would you do something like that further down where the steel plate is? Or, I'm just curious to know what would be.
Probably could, but I mean, we could do, weld something on the flanges, it's gonna be a,
Okay,
How much would a temporary fix cost us versus trying to get it done before winter?
there's no way you're gonna get it done.
No.
Not our whole bridge replacement. I'm gonna just guess off the top of my head, probably $6,000-7,000 to fix it, to do
keep
it.
it safe through
To
the
do
winter.
it, to do it right. I mean, put the new that beam underneath that runner. I mean, the rest of them are all failing, but
Yeah.
it's just that one beam there where the wheel tracks are, where the corrugated's failing, so.
So when you say it needs repairs, the whole bridge essentially needs to be replaced.
Yes, it was, that one is, that one there is on the bridge list, but we don't know when. And I have a contractor that when it failed, that one little spot I
When you
took.
say failed, what happened?
Well, there's an I-beam that goes underneath where the wheel tracks are. And what's happening, it's got corrugated decking on it. And the I-beam helps the corrugated from pushing down. And what happened, the corrugated is just starting to fail. And it's pushed,
It's worn through?
it's pushed down a little bit.
It's more, it's not like
Yeah.
worn through, it's more like a dip.
Yeah, it's like a dip. I mean, it's, and I had a contractor go over and look at it, and he's willing to work with us. We could do a concrete deck like we're gonna do up above. He's willing to come in and talk, I just gotta get a hold of him and get some more figures and have him come in and give us, talk to us and see what. If we get the state involved in it, it could be, it could be 5-6 years.
Danny, let me ask you a question. That contractor has engineer on staff.
Yes.
And did that person come and take a look in terms of assessing the,
As far as I know, I don't think his engineer came over with it, it was just him.
okay,
Yeah.
because I just, I understand what you're saying. There's no way we can get it done before snow flies, and if for $7,000 we can make the bridge passable and safe?
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. I just want to know that that somebody, a structural engineer of some kind, has said, yeah, if you do these fixes, that bridge is going to be fine through the winter.
It's gonna have to be replaced, I mean, it's.
Understood.
It does have a temporary.
And it's gonna need to be replaced like spring or?
Whenever we could get it
How
replaced.
long would a temporary fix last? Ballpark.
Depends on how much heavy traffic goes over it, truck traffic.
So
Is there a way to limit the truck traffic?
There certainly is.
Yeah, we could post it, I mean, to lower the weight. And that would be on all them bridges up through there, so. We could post it down when it,
And then how would they go around? They could go.
well, then that would be putting me in a sort of a pickle, because I ain't gonna be able to get my equipment over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could do a 10-ton rating on it, just to help it. Try to keep the big heavy, like log trucks and,
Right, that's.
Stuff off
Things
of
aren't
it.
gonna really degrade a temporary fix.
Yeah.
Then maybe the engineer would be able to give us a better idea if a temporary fix is a winter fix and then we better get started for a spring? Or where we need to be
I
as
think
far as
it's gonna be
planning?
something that we're gonna have to budget and plan for.
Right, but I guess the question I'm asking is when?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. When?
And that's
I mean,
what
let me get the whole of contracting, I'll get some more
information from him.
more
Yeah.
permanent information on it.
We're gonna put you in a yellow vest with the stop sign over there.
So I think, and before we make a decision about adjusting load limit and other temporary fixes, let's get a little more
Yeah,
information.
let me get the contractor over there and have him look at it and,
And maybe the engineer might have other suggestions
See.
as to how to put the, load bearing
yeah.
supports or something that could.
The bridge has been in desperate need for, I don't know why when the state did the one up above, why they didn't prioritize that one first and then the other one up
Yeah,
above.
because we looked at the one up
Yeah.
above and frankly, it didn't look as bad. I don't
Yeah.
think this
The
one.
I mean,
Did it have some type of
Well,
historical?
what was happening, the one up above,
Yeah.
the abutment on, it would be the east end was settling, and that's why they replaced that one.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of doing,
This
what they
one.
should have done is taken that bridge up there, because the steel was good in it. When they took that one out and ripped the other one out, when they put the new one in, and set that other bridge right in the same spot.
Yeah.
So Dan, maybe at our next, I don't know, is our next meeting too soon to have it more information from?
Let me talk to him and see what he can come up
Okay,
with. and-
okay.
And do we know where it is on the, like, a WRC list as far as, you know,
Matt's
list
got
of
it on,
bridges?
it's through Wyndham Regional, Matt's got
Yeah.
it on the,
Yeah,
It's on A list,
It's on
but is it-
accelerated bridge list.
yeah.
Which means what?
It could
Whenever.
be- Well, it's just on the list, let's put it that way, it doesn't mean a thing.
And have we had updates from WRC as to where that, you know, where we could be and where they are?
I think it's not on a priority.
No.
But you said it's an accelerated list. That's different than a priority?
It's on, they have a list and of all the bridges, Fitchie's Bridge also was on that. And they have all of the detours, the mileage on all the detours, but they don't actually have the bridges prioritized because of the traffic in that sense.
How much, it's a very low
It's a
travel.
low volume, it's not high up,
Right.
it definitely won't get done before the Route 5 bridge. Well, it may because it's a different bridge.
It's a different whole
Different-
It's a whole
category.
different thing,
Yeah.
I mean.
But I mean, that's, yeah.
But maybe we could also have information at that next meeting about where we stand as far
I can
as the
find out the next
accelerated
transportation meeting.
bridge
I will go
list
to,
and,
yeah.
you
That'd be
know,
great.
where we
That'd
are
be
with that?
So you're gonna ask Matt,
Yeah, Matt's got it on his,
Dick's gonna ask Matt Mann,
That's
and
right.
Mann,
Yeah.
about where we stand on that list. But as I understand it, that list triggers the state being
Yeah.
involved, and there was concern about that because, I mean, we have a few experiences with, like
The company.
Bonnie Bell.
Bonnie Bell Bridge, where we were on the list for
This is what's-
15 years.
yeah, you know, I get it.
17 towns.
A $700,000,
And
$700,000 bridge.
we all vote where the bridges go prioritized and, yeah.
You
so,
know, we're
Hang
not
on.
gonna be able to rely on the state for help all the time.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to bite the bullet on some of those projects and try to budget for it, you know, and if this contractor willing to work with us,
But I think part of
You know,
what
and
he
see what happens.
says work with us is that he might accept a payment plan.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that when the work gets done, we would not have to pay for it all at once.
It'll be a precast, so I mean, all you do is just come in and set it and rip the old one out and crane it in, set it right. The abutments are still good, so all they gotta do is just take the old steel out. Basically, we'll just be putting a deck on it. Taking the old bridge out and putting a brand new concrete deck, so.
The other thing we looked at was the slope on Guilford Center Road. Dan, you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
timing?
the culvert down below here, you travel down through there and you see where we patch. Well, that whole road is nothing but clay. And over the years, it's been sort of settling. And what happened, the road was settling a little bit, and what it did, the bank side on the brook pulled the culvert apart because it was settling down, I should say. And then some of that heavy rain we had, we lost some of the bank. So what's gonna have to happen is that whole side of that road on the brook side is gonna have to be riprap, large stone, build it up.
That's what I felt thought.
Yeah, I got another spot down below, before you get to the Weathered Hollow Road, doing the same thing, the bank is undermining and washing out, so, so we're gonna have, that's gonna be another one of them projects, we're gonna have to budget for it, you know, and unfortunately,
Is that,
over the years, we've been, you know, cut your budget. Well, now guess what? It's gonna start biting us in the hind end, so.
So, and that is another one where we're not really sure what the timing is of when we have to deal with that, but it's sometime.
Well, right now, the way I look at it is if it ain't broken right now, let's not fix it. If it happens, it happens.
that's a round to it, isn't it?
Right?
That's a round to it, isn't it?
it's
If
not,
it happens, then we
Yeah.
gotta deal with it.
but if it's not broken, we
Don't-
do have to fix it.
Yeah,
just-
you do.
And we need to know how much it's gonna
Right.
cost.
I'm gonna get estimates on that to find
Yeah.
out what it's.
And the other thing he's doing, as he talked about, was ditching to prevent it from
Yeah.
eroding underneath there even more quickly.
Yeah, we're gonna do some ditching on the roadside to help it, keep the water from going underneath the road some more. But I think with this rain coming in, I'm not gonna do it until after the rain, so.
Gabby, go ahead.
So basically, it's safe now, but we need to rip wrap. And is the rip wrap gonna be sufficient for like a long term? I mean, are we
Yeah,
gonna have
it
to
would be.
consistently do that every?
No, this, once you do that, put the stone down there, it'll.
Is it gonna
But
be
you're gonna
easy
have to
rip?
repave to change the
Yeah,
grade.
We'll have to,
Oh,
Yeah, down at the brook.
Some of that'll be, you'll be down to one lane, right, in? We'll have to rip the bank out and all that, and then repack it. You're essentially rebuilding that road up,
yeah.
from the brook up.
Right now, that road is probably settled
The road is-
where your ground is in the road, it's probably dropped off about 3 feet.
You can't really feel it in a car, but if you go through there on a motorcycle, it's great because it helps you hug.
Or,
go right
you know,
through
even
there.
if you get out of your car and you walk.
Yeah, you can feel it, you can feel
When
it as
they,
you walk.
when they did the patch,
Yeah.
just us, when we did the culvert down there with the backhoe, the road, we made wheel ruts in the blacktop that deep. You know, just from where the backhoe was driving back and forth on the blacktop,
So
so.
we're gonna need to rip wrap and then re-asphalt.
I would,
Excavate too,
what I would do
I'm guessing, too.
would be grind it up.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So big ticket item. So Danny, you have another, thank you for that information. Do you have another item on here, request for sign?
No, he doesn't, I do.
You
Oh,
do.
yes.
Thank you, sir, sorry.
Very simple. It's been an issue for years, not a big issue, but rescue, fire department, salespeople, whatever, goes off Heinsberg Road and take Green River Road. Green River, then when they're going to Halifax, Heinsberg Road turns to Green River Road in Halifax. All they want, and it's not, all they want is permission to put a sign at that 3-cornered piece saying Halifax, Green River Road. They will do the sign, they will
Who's
do
they?
it through the federal.
Halifax is they, I think, right? Or is it, yeah, Halifax wants that clarifying sign.
Halifax wants that.
So that the sign points Halifax on the green, this road's now become Green River Road and you're heading towards Halifax. Yeah.
Where is that, by Amadon Road? At that
No, it's right by Lines.
No, right by Lines,
Yeah.
right
Oh,
there. That's a little,
yep, the triangle.
the triangle.
So, and there, I can't imagine any objection, but I know.
No.
Present,
Who's paying, are they paying for it or are we?
It's strictly on their dime.
they just want
And I
that.
said they can do whatever they want as long as they do them federal municipal.
As long as it's the right size sign.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Could you say the road?
Yeah.
um,
The
Sign.
Where Heinsberg Road.
Intersection of Heinsberg and Guilford Green River Road, Halifax wants to put a sign designated Green River Road in Halifax is approximately what, 1.5 miles up the road?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So Dick made a motion
Second.
to allow Halifax to put a clarifying sign at that intersection, and Troy seconded it. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And for some more update, I stopped grading because it's been too dry and too dusty. So hopefully we get some rain, we'll start back to grading again. I got Bonneville Lee Road to do, Green River Road, and then I gotta go on the other side of the bridge and do everything over there, so.
Over, Green River
Yeah.
side?
Okay.
Danny, this is just an FYI for you, and I know the weather's gonna be nasty, but it looks like somebody has taken it upon themselves to start picking up trash along Center Road. There's approximately 6 trash bags between here and the end to Route 5.
Are they picking it up or are they throwing it out?
No, this looks like where they picked up.
Oh,
So, I mean, it's throughout.
They saw them, there's what, 2 or 3
Yeah.
other vans.
We'll grab them.
Yeah, just grab them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you are 100% right, Dick. People are throwing trash out there because there is a trash right past the fire hydrant right there on Route 5. And I will let one of the state guys know to try to maybe get them to pick that up. But yeah, there's people throwing trash out all over the place.
but you're saying there are bags that people have been
It
using?
looks like it because it's sitting in front of the guardrails and at the end of the guardrails,
Yeah.
and there was like a bucket where it looks like where stuff was picked up and put inside of it and stuff like that.
Dead
So-
turtle in that bunch.
There is? Then why didn't you take care of it?
Any uniform municipal access weight permits tonight? Okay, thank you, Dan. Anything else for Dan? Thank you for coming in and going through all that stuff. And,
Okay, I'll get back to you on more information on
Center Road.
what's happening. And if you, Gabby, if you wanna meet with me someday and take a look at the bridge and down here, give me a holler.
Do I gotta drive that big truck over that thing again?
Well, Ian got her head almost bumped when the truck went over.
You get the paddles, where?
They're at the shop.
Okay.
So anytime you wanna take a look at them, give me a holler.
I'll shoot you a text. That'd be awesome, thank you.
All right, I think that's it for highway, and should we go ahead and do payroll and warrants expenses? Let's get that done.
Sure, madam.
Hey, have a good one, Jan.
Thank you.
I would like to make the following motion that we pay payroll of $920 for $5,096.41. Payroll of $927 for $13,088.95. For a total of payroll for $18,185.36. On that line also, I would like to make the motion that we pay warrant number
This is all part of the same
06.
warrant, yeah, okay.
16 for $109,134.96. Warrant number 06 DP for $43, for a total of warrants of $109,177.96. For a grand total of payroll and warrants, $127,363.32.
How much? Say that again?
127,
Uh-huh.
363.32.
Thank you.
And at the last meeting, someone asked for the high ticket items and stuff like that
On the
on the
warrants.
warrants. So I'll just name off a few things on here. All States asphalt for our 30% liquid calcium. That was like $4,000, $4,005. Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, health insurance, just for the month of October. $4,994.74. Let's see, what's another big one on here? Mathis Humes Builders, which is the final invoice for the Guilford Library, free library for the remodel for floors and stuff like that. $10,022. US Bank, Fire Department and H2O bond payment for $76,121.76.
And that's a bond payment on the actual firehouse, and we were.
And the water
Yes.
line.
Water line and the firehouse.
Oh,
Water
okay.
line and
Both together.
firehouse.
That's both.
Yep.
Okay.
I missed that. Is Vermont roads in there?
No,
No, that was my mistake, it was the
Oh,
asphalt.
okay.
I'm wondering, we had talked about the library pod being a separate agenda item, but as
I
long
can
as
just
it's,
say-
why don't you just tell us that?
Yeah, so we had agreed that, I think we understood that the library pod was going to cost us another, we were gonna be billed for another month if it wasn't out off the property by the 1st of October. I checked with Kathy Wilkin today, who said that she was led to believe that perhaps the fire marshal had come on Friday, but she didn't quite see how the fire marshal would have gotten into the building. So she wasn't confident, and she was going to call again and try to get that taken care of. But then she had a problem of getting the pod unloaded and getting it emptied before the 1st of the month. And we talked about a couple solutions. One was maybe Guilford School do a little community service.
The library board had done a lot of work on volunteer, just
Yeah.
loading that thing up.
So that's a conversation of today. So she's not confident that she can get it out, but she's gonna try.
Had it not been for that pod, they would have been in under budget. That pod is the only thing that might bring them in a few dollars over budget, so. So I don't think we need
I
to,
would encourage them to get it moved somehow and
Yeah.
get it out.
yeah. Okay, and let's make sure all the stuff is signed, sorry Sheila, and then fold it up and put it back
I
on.
made a motion.
Oh, thank you, Troy. Is there a second to Troy's motion?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sir.
You can't get off track like that.
I do, God knows I do. I got the library in there, I got totally off track, so. I'm watching.
There you go. All signed back in.
Who seconded?
I did.
Gabby did, and motion carried unanimously. All right, at this point, we have to discuss a few items, contractual items that affect our budget process, et cetera, and the town administration, as we said earlier. So would somebody make a motion to go into executive
I
session?
make the motion that we go into executive session, just the board members,
To discuss contractual.
to be contractual and, yes.
Second,
Aye.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded, Gabby?
I did.
Karen, I'm sorry.
All right.
We've come out of executive session at 8:05, and I would entertain two motions in terms of hiring. So, does anybody want some wording, or you good to go?
You can do it.
Okay.
I make the motion, based on this memorandum of understanding, to hire Cynthia Stoddard to, for financial services for Guilford.
I don't know that you need to go into all the
Okay.
details, do you? Yeah, I don't think you need to read the whole thing, but I think, is there a second to that?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I'm trying to type too.
Opposed? Sorry, you're doing a great job, Sheila, appreciate it.
You don't know
Becky
that yet.
definitely was, no, I don't know that. Becky was definitely not feeling well, so. And.
I would like to make the following motion that we hire Ron Lemke.
Langford?
Lanker? Why did I get Lemke?
Yeah.
Because Steve's always saying
Yeah.
Ron Lanker.
So maybe we accept Ron's offer to take on the clerical and hire him, just because I think it would be nice to express the gratitude.
Yes, I do too. That's what I said, I thought he volunteered. and I
Yeah,
said he did.
yeah, in that sense, he did volunteer, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you wanna go ahead, start over.
What was I saying?
You
Oh, yeah.
accept Ron's
Accept
generous.
Ron's generous offer to work for the town while we're in the progression of hiring or finding a new town administrator.
Okay, up to.
Up to 16 hours if needed,
Okay, yep,
a week.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there any other business? Oh, yes, we have the communications, and I think basically everybody did have a chance to review the communications. We'll ask quickly, were there any concerns or anything you'd like to address in the communications?
I think there was one thing what Dick was going to bring up.
Okay? You want me to hold it for?
No, I just wanted to see what it was.
So we, one of the things that came through, I just wanted to say, is that again, a separate notice about the final approval by FEMA for the hazard mitigation plan. And it talks about a tracker tool, which Ron will have to be responsible for bringing to us and processing through the year. I'm assuming it's Ron. And it also says that not all of the actions in the Green River Corridor Plan are included in this tracker, so that we probably need to ask Ron who's going to share the responsibilities for the Green River Plan. But
This Ron and his role as emergency
Right.
management director. Yeah. I have to start distinguishing these things. Anything else in communications that you wanted to review?
I haven't seen anything. No, I didn't get to see him anyway. Actually, the computer at the house is down and.
Or you climb up on the telephone pole.
Okay, and then there is one other item that we glided over. If there's, and I saw, Dick, that you had the job description out for town administrator. What we agreed at the last meeting was that we would begin to sort of spread the word without specifically advertising for town administrator. And you had said you might want to make some edits
I
to.
chopped the devil right out of it.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is, if you chop the devil right out of it, would it make sense for us to rather than go through it right now, for somebody to type up the changes you made?
Yeah, I think it might be better because there's reasoning behind it. I just
Yeah.
didn't throw them out 'cause I didn't like them.
Do you want to work with me on that,
Yeah,
Dick?
I
Because
can
we
do
worked
that.
on this
Yeah.
in last fall, so maybe,
Yeah, if the two of you could get together and
Yeah.
propose a draft so that we, I mean,
Yeah.
with these measures in place, I feel like we can take our time and
Yeah.
make sure we have a job description we're all comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kept the
Understood. Okay, so if the two of you would work on that, and then,
I don't know if you want to talk about this tonight, but I had said I would do a draft of a memo. Becky was supposed to give us a draft of a select board memo.
Is this revised from August
I think it's
24?
considerably revised.
Yes, it
So
is.
this is about the operating budget, note to town
excellent.
staff, and also a little bit of explanation about the capital budget process. So
One of the things that's gonna have to happen before our next meeting is that notes are gonna have to go out, the reminders, the ticklers to people, hey, we need your budget to get in, library and stuff. And I think that we can talk about how that gets done. I think that's a communication that Ron could send out to people. Are people comfortable with
yeah,
that?
and I just drafted it.
Yeah.
It's
So let's
based on
let's
stuff
take a look at this.
Becky had said, and,
Is there a timeline for how we
well, we did a
tickler
timeline
versus
before. We did a timeline for the end of fiscal year 2015 and for the capital and the operating budgets for 2017.
when they're due to the town?
Yeah, like when we're gonna get the notes out, who we're gonna get the notes to, when we need to get them
Right.
back. That schedule has been delayed a bit, by about a month so far. But I'm still trying to track it and make sure that things make sense.
Is that in our
Gets done.
policy?
It's not in the policy, it was
It was a guideline,
preceded
like a
the policy.
roadmap, yeah.
Okay.
We did that, we talked about what we were gonna do, and then we had we created the policy.
Sorry, I was getting confused with all the
Yeah.
documents.
Yeah.
You can do that sometimes, trust us.
Okay, so Sheila, would you recommend then that we take a look at this on our own?
Yeah.
And at the October meeting, this is just a memo, this is not something we have to adopt, this is guidelines.
No, this is just, this comes out from the select board to all the town departments, so I
Yeah.
thought we
This
should
is a
be.
draft, thank you.
And it's a
Okay.
draft.
Okay,
You'll notice that there's some stuff in either italics or capital letters that are to be filled in or to be resolved. So stuff that I just did not know the answers
It
to.
kind of follows, I think what I was trying to say at the last meeting, that this would go to Danny,
yep,
Yep.
got it.
and one will go to the library, and one will go, yeah.
Okay, that's what this is, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so let's get feedback on this to Sheila. Now, I'm wondering if people are comfortable getting feedback to Sheila on this draft, if then, whether it's through Ron or somebody else, me, that we get this out to people. I would rather not wait till October 13th to
Yeah,
get this out.
that can go out. I mean, there's nothing,
We'll just read it, and if Dick, if you said, for example, I'm looking at number 2, while the school budget is completely separate, the school department may wish to follow this format to provide consistency. I
To
could,
Guilford residents when presenting budgets for town approval.
right, and I may give you feedback on that, and I
Yeah.
may say, forget about it, but,
Yeah.
Jim
I mean,
Kane,
you might just want to copy them in it.
Frank Redker.
Frank Rucker, I performed his daughter's wedding.
yeah.
Frank?
Okay, so, yeah, but I think we should just informally make any edits to this and get this out to people. Are you, okay.
So Dick, maybe we can meet later this week.
Yeah.
Are you going up to Montpelier on Wednesday too?
Yeah,
Budget?
yeah.
You going with Pete and me?
Let's do it
No, I'm
now.
gonna drive my car. I'm gonna take the T out of the top one,
All right.
road.
So let me ask another, we have one other item on the agenda. We're doing well here, but we do have one other item, and that is it said Budget Process and Finance Committee. I had raised the concept of the Finance Committee, I think in August, that what people thought about it. Should we move ahead with it? Since that time, we've had a resignation of our administrator, and so we're back in a situation of needing to do some stopgap measures, and I personally think, especially at this time, that a finance committee frankly would be more work than help right now, and I think that we should act as the finance committee, certainly for this year. Conceptually, I understand it. This is a small town. I'm not sure it makes sense. It was just a concept I wanted to throw out there.
I think I would encourage people in town to come into our budget meetings, so that they know what we go through to prepare the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Dick,
So,
on that one.
First
Yeah.
time.
It's almost like watching the school budget be done up there.
yeah, so,
Nobody comes put their input in, but then at town meeting day, well, why'd you raise that?
yeah, you're right. So I think what might be good is if we put a schedule of our budget work sessions on the website, for example, so people know and could come in and have that knowledge, because they're often not in budget, in select board meetings.
Even if one or two people get the word out to other people and, yeah. I mean,
So, it's, I'm just, I threw out there my feelings. Do people have other feelings about a finance committee, formation of a finance committee at this time?
No,
I
Okay.
think it's gonna take it's gonna take longer than what we think to form that committee and get these people involved and to get it rolling so we can get them,
Yeah, we have,
Started
I think we
stuff
have
like
other fish to fry right now.
we got a lot of fish to fry.
All right, so is there anything else people would like to,
Second,
all in favor?
all right,
All right, close.
that means turn off the TV.
We're done.
Ian, good night, Ian.